Welcome everyone to Design Bytes, a weekly series that takes a look at and breaks down good, bad, and interesting instances of game design. Today's episode is all about the recently released Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. Beyond creating what might just be the greatest hype cycle ever for fans until it was released, Smash Ultimate is a wonderfully designed title that has already set itself apart from others by trying to appeal to hardcore and casual players alike. Nintendo and Masahiro Sakurai made a few key design decisions to try and unify the fan base, so let's find out what's changed in the latest title and how it impacts all types of players. The Smash Bros. Series is unique because it's one of the few mainstream fighting games that appeals to large casual audiences, but it also means that the game is balanced for two different targeted groups. All previous iterations have tried to balance this differently to some extent, but each specific title may offer one audience something more than the other. Smash 64 and Melee's gameplay are more focused on offensive options and long combos, while requiring a high level of tech skill for players looking to improve. On the other hand, Brawl and Smash 4 tended to favor more defensive playstyles and richer casual experiences with little to no technical ability required. Of course, this is an oversimplification of these games and in no way exhausts what each title provides, but it's important to underscore that every title so far in the series can be enjoyed by both audiences. Smash Ultimate, like its predecessors, has also made tweaks to the platform fighter's gameplay formula, and it's resulted in an experience that blurs the lines between casual and experienced crowds more so than any other game in the series. Masahiro Sakurai and the rest of the developers accomplished this through four key design choices. 1. They upped the tempo of the game and tried to find a balance between offensive and defensive capabilities. 2. They emphasized the advantage and disadvantage states without making them too combo-oriented. 3. They redesigned some previous techniques and introduced easier controls. And 4. They drastically improved the AI. One of the biggest changes to happen in Ultimate is the tempo of the gameplay, which is now the second fastest in the series behind Super Smash Bros. Melee. One of the reasons why Melee is still the dominant competitive Smash game is because the game is lightning quick and features a fast pace. In addition to general movement speed, the game features an advanced technique called lag cancelling, allowing players to reduce the lag on all aerial attacks to push the game speed even further. This type of technique is welcomed in the competitive community, and it definitely isn't the only one of its kind, but these difficult maneuvers come at a cost to player accessibility by placing a skill cap that only a few can penetrate, since most players can never reach that level of dexterity. Smash Ultimate approaches pacing differently, and as a result, lowers the barrier to entry a little bit without compromising too much for the experienced crowd. The game speed is faster than Smash 4 by a pretty noticeable margin, and the lag on moves has been drastically reduced for every single character without requiring extra button presses. The knockback system has also changed. Characters fly much faster after taking a strong hit, allowing both players to re-establish their positioning quicker. The ability to dash around and dash dance, which is moving back and forth quickly with your character, has returned to most of its former glory, and everything culminates in a quicker experience where newer players still feel like they are in complete control of their character while maintaining a lot of depth for experienced players who can understand the nuances of the physics engine to optimize gameplay and movement. Smash Ultimate also stands out in the way it handles two concepts called the advantage state and the disadvantage state. These are simple fighting game terms, but they essentially refer to the state in which one player currently has more options because they are on the offensive, while the other player has less options because they are being forced to defend. In Smash 64 and Melee, the game leaned heavily on promoting the advantage state through huge combos and death touches for high-level players. In those titles, players who are in the disadvantage state had some options and advanced techniques that were hard to learn, but they were always fewer than the player who was in the advantage state. Brawl and Smash 4 went in the polar opposite direction, where defensive options like infinite air dodging were very strong, resulting in a game with limited combos and offensive potential. In those two titles, control of the stage and positional advantage is often the reward for landing a hit. Whether a more offensive or defensive game is better is purely personal preference, but no game in the series has really nailed that sweet spot between the two states. It's early in the game's lifespan, but it seems like Smash Ultimate might be the title that best balances these concepts. Combos do exist in Ultimate, and they're there for nearly every character, but they generally only last a couple of hits. Air dodging has been reverted back to Melee's incarnation, being both directionally driven and a single use. However, unlike Melee, players can still move after doing an air dodge and no longer go in a helpless state. Offensive players get follow-ups and stage control, and they can constantly remain in the advantageous position if they predict their opponent correctly. On the other hand, defensive players still have just enough options to escape certain death if they learn how to properly use these easy-to-access techniques. Mid-level and newer players who are less experienced are now more able to easily learn what they are doing right and wrong, and how to overcome these obstacles because they are no longer tied to high levels of tech skill and intense combo knowledge, but are now more so an extension of the general gameplay. Ultimate also changes two long-standing techniques that the series has had: short hopping and repeated dodging. Short hopping is a technique where players only jump about half of their character's normal jump height, and it makes it easier for aerial moves to hit grounded opponents while returning their character to the ground faster. Traditionally, this is done by lightly tapping the jump button, but the maneuver can be difficult for some players, especially if they are gripping their controllers tight mid-match. Veteran players don't really struggle with this technique, so Ultimate did not change the mechanic itself. However, the developers did change its execution. The old school method still exists where players can press the jump button lightly, but now players have the option to press the jump and attack button simultaneously to always guarantee a short hop. This is a pure accessibility move that only really affects newer and intermediate players, but it gives them a more advanced option without having to learn potentially difficult tech skill. Dodging in Smash Ultimate has also seen its effectiveness reduced, which is another great change that positively impacts both player bases. Unlike previous games in the series, repeated usage of rolling and air dodging now penalizes players by providing less invincibility for each dodge used in succession. This means that newer and intermediate players no longer have a way to consistently get away from opponents, which forces them to learn other battle mechanics and learn how to handle more interactions with their adversaries, which will only help them get better at the game. Experienced players get the benefit of seeing downtime replaced with more action in matches, and it even means that the competitive scene should theoretically see less timeouts, resulting in more spectator-friendly matches with decisive victors. The last thing that shows a shift in Smash Ultimate's focus on faster-paced but still accessible gameplay is how the AI was handled. This one's a little bit different from the other things on the list because it doesn't necessarily pertain to gameplay-specific mechanics, but it is something that helps players develop their skill. Computers in Ultimate now act significantly more human-like compared to previous entries in the series, and they are much tougher than before. This is a welcome change, and it helps players learn applicable skills without having to deal with any sort of social pressure, whether it's online or offline. It's a small change that doesn't affect the gameplay directly, but one that can go a long way for newer and intermediate players when they are trying to sharpen their skills and get better at the game. Of course, fighting an AI can never replace fighting a real opponent, but improved AI is only a good thing, so it doesn't hurt. It's too early to tell if Smash Ultimate will stand the test of time and be the definitive version of Smash Bros. We've all been hoping for, but it does seem like the initial impressions from the game indicate that it's here to stay. By focusing on making things more accessible through shifting and reworking a few elements without sacrificing pacing and other competitive features, Smash Ultimate may be that gem that can provide an experience for both hardcore and casual players alike. It might be possible that Sakurai and Nintendo have finally hit on the definitive version of one of gaming's most legendary and iconic franchises.